How neurotic are you? I know that's going to sound like a loaded question. Also, I think with the way I have this set up, the sound's going to be off from the visual. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I know that sounds like a loaded question. How neurotic are you? But I wanted to ask it in the sort of lens and through the lens of the big 5 behavior personality traits rather than our biased, negative idea of the actual word neuroticism, which it definitely does have some negative aspects to it. I'm sure if you do have a higher level of neuroticism, you might see that. You might experience that. And I also want to see if anybody relates to this, though. Having a high level of neuroticism and a low level of energy. And so you actually experience the world at many times very calmly, very collected, to some degree even too sedated. And I would say that if you have like something around 80% of neuroticism or higher, this is just a guess, or if you have above 50% with a very low level of conscientiousness, or I know energy isn't like some behavior trait, but it is a reality of what many people are living in. If you have like low energy, high neuroticism, you're seeing all the dangers and you can't do a damn thing about them. And so you just kind of short circuit and are forced then into a state of either freeze, which is still nervous system dysregulation, and thus more draining of energy, or you give up and just become calm and collected. And so somebody who actually is, I mean, behavior traits are supposed to stay the same, but I think with this one, I think it can oscillate based off of energy levels. I think it can oscillate based off of what the other 4 traits are, if they're higher or lower, your circumstances, and your ability to act upon the dangers in the world around you. And so this oscillation, you can either be like really highly neurotic or really almost way too low in neuroticism, actually. I think if you're very high in neuroticism or very low in neuroticism, it's sort of the same problem. It sort of comes full circle. And just your ability to address, assess, execute plans to dampen and lower any dangers around you. I think women are often seen as having higher neuroticism, but I think that comes as a product of conditioning from this world, and that many women in many situations they have a lot of their power taken away from them. They have a lot of their rights taken away from them. And so we see this in the news. You have abusers just running rampant, getting away with everything. So that's not even just like a woman thing. That's a human thing. And so unless you're able to save yourself, save others around you, that is a socioculture, that is a conditional, that is a nurture, not a nature aspect necessarily of the reasons you might be either way too low or way too high in neuroticism or a little too high with low conscientiousness. Is just you can't do anything about it. You see all the problems, you see all the dangers. You have a train coming towards your friend, you literally have no power to untie them in time. and then that kind of thing keeps happening constantly. And there are times you sacrifice yourself, you do everything you can, and yet you still experience that everything you did was for naught. You would have a high level of neuroticism in those kind of traumatic situations. Or so short-circuited, in an analogy sort of way, like it's almost like your mind is so short-circuited that you can't, you're almost too calm and accepting. And so, yeah, in the context of personality traits, I'm talking about, maybe it's not even in that context anymore, because I really am talking about like why people would be like this outside of that. And I'm actually less talking about myself than I am about just sort of like observing people with these traits. And I think I also want to honor people who have a high level of neuroticism, because they're usually gaslit more than they should be. Like, yeah, some of it, like a little bit of it might be just in their heads, but a lot of it is real. And me being able to have such a low level of neuroticism, or anyone being able to be calm and happy, playing, having a good time, is due to somebody who had a fairly high level of neuroticism with a fairly high conscientiousness level. And so we honestly should be like honoring those kind of people more.